Hi, okay, so this morning I want to talk about resilience. And if you have ever suffered or been through a traumatic, chronic, or serious illness or sickness, um, you know what I'm talking about. The power to be resilient. And I just want to remind you, and I want to talk about 3 ways that you can build this resilience, because this is actually what you need. This is completely what you need to get through. To get through and make it to the other side is that we need resilience. So there's 3 ways. And the first way is basically becoming the ocean, becoming the waves. The second way is, so basically that's being mindful and mindful meditation and being in it. The second one is building qualities of resilience, like trust and, love and self-love and just all of these things that you need to be resilient. And then the third way is becoming the mind of a champion, somebody who never gives up. So basically when I'm talking about the first way, and I'm saying, there's an old saying that goes something like, how does it go? It goes, if you become the waves, you will, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think it goes something like, if you become the waves, you will never fear them, or you will never worry about them. If you become the ocean, you will never worry about the waves. And if you don't, you will basically be seasick the rest of your life. So it goes something like that. Anyways, the point is being that these waves ebb and flow. They come and they're tumultuous, and they come and they take us for a ride. Everything that we're worth is tested. But we have to remember that we're not riding the waves. We're not being thrown around by the waves. We actually are the ocean. And the point here is that the oneness of everything is that we actually are the experience, right? We're not being taken by this experience. We're not being taken by our bodies, taken over by our bodies, or needing to fight our bodies. We actually are. We are. We are the whole thing. So it's more like accepting and being mindful and practicing meditation in these times, where we can just accept and ebb and flow and let the waves crash around us and just become the bigger picture of the whole part of it, and react less to the symptoms, react less to everything. And so that's one way that you can build resistance. So it's really going to take a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice through meditation and being able to practice mindfulness. So these are 2 areas that I'll talk a little bit more about, because it's really important to build that muscle of mindfulness meditation. And then the second way is we can build qualities like trust, qualities of somebody that it takes, to make it through this. And really, resilience is actually just building a trust that you can make it through. That's what it is. Resilience is trusting, building a trust within yourself and a knowingness inside yourself, this deep trust that no matter what happens, you have the ability to stand, rise, and make it through, that you can love through it, that you can get through it, that you can grow through it, that you will come through it. So it's like this trust. And how do we develop that trust? That's a muscle that we can build, and we can practice trusting and trusting ourselves, and practice loving and loving ourselves. And so that's a practice that you can do. That's another thing that I'll talk about how to build trust, and how to how to remind yourself about trust, and just all of these different things about how you can build that muscle of trusting yourself. Because it's when you trust yourself to know that you can get through, that you're actually building resilience. And so that's another thing that we can practice. And then the third thing is having the mind of a warrior, having the mind of a champion. Basically, there are few people on this earth who are truly resilient. Very, very few people are truly, truly resilient. So there's Olympic athletes, these athletes, these elite athletes who are top in their field. They've sort of learned how to become resilient. And it's by putting yourself in an extreme situation beyond your capacity to even think that you could do, and then do it. So people who swim the English Channel, or people who climb Mount Everest, or people who, fly to the moon, or somebody who does something that's super resilient. Rocky, in the movie Rocky, if you've ever seen that movie, God, I love that movie. It has gotten me through so many times. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times you're knocked down, but how many times you get back up. So it's building, very few people are resilient, and it's because most of the people who are resilient and who have that champion mindset have put themselves in that champion situation. They've put themselves in these crazy situations. Maybe they've dropped out of an airplane into the middle of the woods just to see if they can survive. Or, they've decided that they are going to climb Mount Everest, or they put themselves in these extreme situations that even they don't know if they're capable of, and they push until they do it. Very few people are willing to do that, to put themselves in a situation, like a complete situation that they have no idea, and just find their way out of it, and find their way, find that resilience deep inside them. You are one of the lucky ones, in a sense, because you have been placed in a situation, sort of like Holocaust survivors, people who are prisoner of wars, people who didn't ask for their situation. They didn't ask for this extreme amount of suffering and pain and this situation, yet here they are. And so you have been given the opportunity to develop a huge warrior mindset. And it's all about, can you rise to the challenge? Can you become that warrior? Can you know that you're a champion and do what champions do? So it's about building this champion mindset and how champions achieve. And so that's another way that we can try to build resilience. So these are the 3 different ways that I think that you can really learn to build resilience, and learn to trust and keep going, and build that muscle that's going to give you what you need to make it to the end. Because, it's really all you need is resilience to make it to the end of this, to find a way, to keep going through the hardest suffering and not give up. So I'm going to talk more about these 3 things later in depth, and how we can build them, and ways that we can build them, and tips and tricks that I've learned and researched, and all kinds of things. And I think that would be a good thing. But just remember, you are here, you are in this situation, and you need to practice all 3 of those things, and they're completely different. Sometimes we need to fight and become a warrior and a champion. Sometimes we need to trust and become the ocean. And sometimes we need to build and trust ourselves that we can actually make it through. And building that resilience is what you need. And I believe you can do it. Never give up. And see if you can build your resistance. I know you are already building your resilience through this whole thing. If you are still here and you haven't given up, you have resilience. Now it's just a matter of making sure that we have enough of it, and cultivating enough and a strength in it that we can make it to the end of the journey.